First, we have the sternocleidomastoid. It is seeing the insertion right here, the origin being right here, down kind of on the collarbone area. It laterally flexes the head and neck to the, and then rotates the head and neck to the opposite side, and then bilaterally flexes the neck. Next, we have the anterior scalene. The insertion being right here in the yellow on the inner collarbone, and then the origin being on the sides right here. The anterior scalene rotates the head and neck to the opposite side, laterally flexes the head and neck, and bilaterally flexes the head and neck. Next, we have the middle scalene, which also rotates the head and neck to the opposite side, laterally flexes, and bilaterally flexes the head and neck. The origin can be seen right here in the blue, or the origin on the right here, and the insertion being right here. Next, we have the posterior scalene, which also has the same actions as the other scalenes. The insertion being right here in the orange, if you can see it, right here on kind of on like the inner collarbone, and then the origin being right there. All right, next we have the longus capitis, the insertion being kind of on the inner right here. I don't know if you can see it up under, kind of like the jaw. And then the origin being over, what side did we put it on? Oh, right here. Origin right there. The longus capitis laterally flexes the head and neck and rotates the head and neck to the same side. Those are both unilateral actions, and then it bilaterally flexes the head and neck. Next, we have the longus coeli, which can be seen right here in the blue. The insertion and origin kind of cross on the upper vertebrae right here in the blue. This also laterally flexes the head and neck, and unilaterally rotates the head and neck to the same side, as well as bilaterally flexing. Next, we have the rectus capitis posterior, which is seen here in its brownish color. The insertion being kind of up here, and the origin being around here. Longus capitis posterior major rotates the head to the same side. Next, we have the rectus capitis posterior minor, which can be seen here in this purplish color right there. The insertion being right there and the origin being right there. That tilts or extends the head and extends the head. Next, we have the oblique capitis superior, which is seen here in this grayish color. The insertion being right there, the origin being right there. This muscle extends the head and neck, or head and neck area, and then laterally flexes the head to the same side. Next, we have the oblique capitis inferior, which is seen right here. The origin being right here, and the insertion right there, and the origin right there. This rotates the head to the same side. Next, we have the quadratus lumborum. Insertion being right here, and the origin on the hip. The quadratus lumborum laterally tilts the pelvis. It also laterally flexes the vertebral column to this, and then it also bilaterally, never mind. That's not the right one. Next, we have the rectus abdominis. This is here in this purple color, as the insertions are right here on the rib cage, and then the origin right here near the pubis, or the pubis area. The rectus abdominis flexes the vertebral column and posteriorly tilts the pelvis. Next, we have the external oblique, which can be seen here in this yellow color. as the insertion is right here, going all the way across the hip, and then the origin being on the rib cage. External oblique laterally flexes the vertebral column and it rotates the vertebral column to the same side. Those are both unilateral actions, and then bilaterally flexes the vertebral column. Next, we have the internal oblique, seen here in this orange. The insertion being right here, and then the origin being right here in the orange. Internal oblique also unilaterally laterally flexes and unilaterally rotates the vertebral columns to the same side, and also bilaterally flexes the vertebral column. Next, we have the transverse abdominis, which can be seen here in the green. Insertion right here, origin right here on the hip. And this one has no actions. Next, we move to the multifidi, which is seen here in the green. The origin and insertions are kind of close to each other, so this is like the origin and insertions right here. This rotates the vertebral column to the opposite side and extends the vertebral column as well. Next, we have the rotaries, and this is seen here in the pink. Also has a close origin insertion there, close to each other. So right here in the pink, this also unilaterally rotates the vertebral column to the opposite side and extends the vertebral, and bilaterally extends the vertebral column. Next, we move to the semispinalis capitis. Can be seen here in this dark pink color, the insertion being up here on the skull, and then the origin being down here near the spine. This muscle extends the vertebral column and the head. Next, we have the spinalis capitis, which can be seen here in this orange color, the insertion right here and the origin right there. This muscle unilaterally rotates the head and neck to the same side, laterally flexes the head and neck, and bilaterally extends the head and neck. Lastly, we have the splenius capitis or cervicus, and this can be seen here in the purple. Insertion being right here, and then the origin running along near the spine around here. This muscle unilaterally rotates the head and neck to the same side, laterally flexes the head and neck to the same side, and bilaterally extends the head and neck.